So that's a hard act to follow, isn't it? And I hope you're now warm but not quite asleep, because I get the final presentation, so I've got to keep you awake for a little while longer. So just bear with me, and I'll try and make this as entertaining but relevant as possible. I've called this Spam, Scams and Automobiles because I know our demographic largely. Most of us in this motoring community are heading towards having 5s, 6s, 7s and 8s in front of our numbers of years on the earth. We haven't necessarily grown up with computers, social media, and all of the email bits and pieces that are around at the moment. So I think we are a potentially at-risk community in that regard. So I'm not coming to you as an expert. I'm coming to you to give you some tips about how to try and stay safe in quite a daunting world.
Press it again. I'm not sure what gets the first slide going.
See, daunting technology. That's brilliant. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, scams. We have all heard of the Nigerian prince. I'm sure there is someone sitting in a cave with, what is it, 16 billion US dollars? That's probably gone up with inflation, trying to give it to someone on the proviso that they're going to help them transfer some money. I mean, these sorts of scams become a little bit obvious after a while. But why do we have them? On a law of averages, they are a low cost, low effort, and potentially high reward. What does it cost to send an email? Albeit we've heard from Mark and Damien about the protocols around emails. It costs nothing to send an email. It really doesn't. So if you send 1 million emails and 1% of people click on the link that you want and put their $50 or whatever into your bank account, it's a pretty high return for a pretty low investment, isn't it? And there's plenty of people out there that will. I guess my point is, don't stick your head in the sand and think this won't happen to you, because the bottom line is these scam creators are good. They can make things look very real and very authentic, and even some IT and security professionals have fallen for tricks. It's often embarrassing to actually admit to people that you've fallen for a scam or have been had online. This is a topic that affects all of us. In this day and age, knowledge and data is king. All of us will know someone who has been spammed or potentially had a virus or potentially been taken in by a scam. As I said, we're not trying to solve the problems of the world today, but we're just getting to point out some of the things that you can look out for and be aware of that these things come in various messages. You've all had the email scams from the Nigerian prince. You've probably all seen text messages from anyone from your linked account, you need to top up your account, or someone's trying to send you a text message, but your numbers are wrong or something to that effect. And we've all been annoyed by the phone calls around from various parts of the world, trying to do everything from solicit charity donations to sell us solar batteries or energy plans. How do we spot one? I guess my message here is things aren't always what they seem. You need to be critical. You need to evaluate the things you're being presented. Have a look for little things. Sentence construction and language. Some of our scams, some of our fake messages have clearly been written by people who don't have English as first language. Read the email in context, read the message in context, and if you think it sounds suspicious, pick your radar up. Have a look at colours. If you know that, for example, Westpac's colour is a big red W, and all of a sudden you're presented something which is more of a crimson W, be a little suspicious, because it's little things like that that will, I guess, keep you safe. have a look at a bit of a risk analysis. If you're dealing with banks, if you're dealing with Medicare, if you're putting your credit card into online shopping carts or big roads, really make sure that you know what you're doing and what sites you're entering. We've heard people talk about HTTPS. Have a look at the toolbar on the top of your screen and make sure you are entering a secure site before purchasing something. Once you put your credit card numbers out there, sometimes it's very difficult to get that back or to actually cancel transactions. And I'm sure we've all been involved with situations where you've had a charge on your credit card that isn't you and you've had to go and prove it or otherwise. And be really wary about buying and selling sites. I've got a little bit more on that later. Facebook Marketplace and Gumtree are notorious for scams and frauds. Some giveaway signs. So I've got a few slides on what people have done in the past or that have stood out. This is an Australia Post, AU Post as opposed to Oz Post, and AU Post as opposed to Oz Post in the particular link that's been shown there. Again, it's little things that make a difference. And for example, if you're not expecting something to be delivered by Australia Post, why would you be clicking on links? Just try and tie up the pieces. It will keep you safer. But you probably can't see the top toolbar there, but it is actually my.gov.au.net. Now, that's not the MyGov site. But for all intents and purposes, the colours and so forth look like it's a MyGov site. You know, it comes up looking, it's been cloned from the actual MyGov website. But it looks pretty real, doesn't it? If you saw that on your email, it looks pretty real. The colours are right. The language is right. It's actually been cloned from the Australian government MyGov site. But it's pointing to a different email. It's pointing to a different web address. And once you put your data into that, they've got it. Another example. A lot of people receive these quotes to sign off. You've received a document to review or you've received a quote online. Now, if you're not expecting a quote or you haven't booked a flight from flightsalreadyaviation.com, why would you be clicking on a link to review a document? If you're not engaged with building at a particular point in time and you get 3 quotes from a plumber or an electrician or something to that effect, why would you go clicking that link? But a lot of people do. Now, I'll explain a little bit later what clicking that link may do. But just don't be too ready to press a button. That's what everyone wants you to do. And it's really easy to do. And it's really easy to do on a mobile phone more than anything else because you don't always see a full screen on a mobile phone. So it's just about using, and I hate the words common sense, but it is actually about using some common sense about what you're seeing online. Again, ATO notification. Sent on behalf of my.gov.au. Have a good look at the actual from email address. Sometimes it's disguised with an alias. If you click on it, it will show you where it's being sent from in most cases. And why would you send something to Keith Mortimer, for example, saying, "Dear MyGov member"? But in essence, it's got the Australian government's logo. Everyone wants a tax refund. If they send this out around July or August when people are doing their tax returns, people all of a sudden think, well, that's for me and I'm going to get some money, so off I go. And it's not always the case. So again, that critical thought process could save your bacon, literally. How do we spell taxation, people? And are we likely to see on the ATO website, you can find the ATO's terms of sales or sales policies by launching your application here? I hardly think so, but many people have fallen for these sorts of trips and scams. It's really easy to do, and even the bottom email address here, or the bottom website, is the actual genuine ATO website. But again, being critical, not being too fast to click on something could save you in more ways than one. Have we all seen this little gem? So the scenario is this: a child, a grandchild, potentially has lost their phone. They get a WhatsApp from supposedly a mate's phone or friend's phone. Mum, I've lost my phone. Grandma, I've lost my phone. Can you wire me some money? I haven't got my phone, so put it into my friend's account. Or give me your credit card details so I can go and get a new phone or a new SIM. People think they're helping their daughter, they're helping their son, they're helping their grandchild. And you just really need to be conscious of, well, if that's the case, I would actually pick up my phone and call my granddaughter or my son and say, hey, how you going? And just see if these scams are real or not. I mean, many people have been caught by that one because it's been so personalised. It actually, in some cases, has said the child's name, and it's come from, you know, the language that a child potentially would use. Now, this is one of the, I guess, the one that people don't like to admit to, but it's been the cause of many a dollar going overseas or going into the hands of scammers. And I'm not going to get into the pros and cons of online dating or whatever, but it's one that no one wants to admit to, but it's one that has caught a lot of people out. So, you know, if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is. I'd just be very conscious, even in this day and age of online relationships, of this day and age of online dating, if someone's asking for dollars, I think it would ring alarm bells with me. But a lot of people look forward to that. So let's talk a little bit about viruses, spyware, and ransomware. All of these links that I mentioned before are designed to get a piece of software or some sort of invasion into your device. So once you click that link, all of a sudden it fires off a little ferret that buries itself into your PC or your phone. It's designed to do two things or three things. It could damage the device, so all of a sudden it's rendered useless. It's designed to sit there and potentially spy and gain information when you put in your banking passwords and things like that. Or it could render the device useless, and the next thing they'll do is ask for a fee to repair it. Just be aware, again, this is the consequence of clicking too quickly on things that really aren't genuine. Passwords. Okay, I'm going to ask for some honesty here. Who uses the same password consistently? Do you use the same password across platforms? Do you use the same password on different bank accounts? Do you use the same password, or do you use, you know, dog's name 1, dog's name 2, dog's name 3 every time you asked to change a password? Well, let me tell you a few stories here. So the gentleman standing in the picture had a password stuck on the bottom of his screen. He shared a photo of his workplace on social media. So in doing so, he shared his username and password to, I believe, the American Civil Aviation Authority. Really not a very wise move. We are in an age now where we do video conference. We are in an age where we have a phone and a camera in our pocket. We are in an age where everyone likes to share a photo of this, that, and the other. Be conscious of what's in the background. And on a post-it note, as much as I love post-it notes, a post-it note is not the place to write a password. A post-it note is not the place to put a password on a work computer where potentially, right out of left field, but an unscrupulous colleague could log in at you and access information or potentially transfer funds if you or they have some access under your name. So just think twice. These are really important security protocols. So, the 3-colour sticky notes. This was again on a photograph that was shared, and it's again a website password, a hosting password, and a CRM password, all put out there on Facebook or Insta for everyone to have a good look at. Not very safe and very easy for people to find and log into.
And not very good passwords either.
Let's just hold that thought. So this is a little table of how long it takes for someone to hack a password. 4 characters number only is almost instantly. Once you start adding complexities, lowercase letters, uppercase letters, numbers, lowercase letters, and symbols, you can see very easily how much more difficult it is for people to actually hack your passwords. Please don't think these people who are creating the hacks, who are invading PCs, who are creating all this stuff are silly. They are not. They are very smart people, and they have got algorithms that can do this stuff very, very easily. So, who's got a password that is what I would call a simple password? Time to change it, guys.
But you can't on the banks. The banks have got a 4-character. The 2 of the banks that I'm in, they've only got 4 digital characters, and it's always worried me.
Just hold that thought. I'd be changing banks, to be perfectly honest.
Then Westpac.
Okay.
It's not your password.
It's a
It's your PIN number, not a password. If you're talking about,
it's a password.
okay.
No,
Interested here.
I'm in Westpac.
I'm with Westpac and I have a complex password.
Yeah.
I'm a complex person, so I should naturally have a complex password, I think. But
They've actually made you put ones with symbols and up
Yeah.
lowercase in.
so
Recently.
if you have problems remembering passwords, don't use the sticky note methodology. Don't write them on your desk pad. Some people put them into phones under notes and things like that, but your phone's generally got security on it as well. So maybe consider that. I'd be scratching my head about that one a little bit. There are programs around that are password vaults that you can store your passwords in and require a fingerprint type authentication, or we're about to talk about next, multi-factor authentication. Try saying that after you.
I'd just like to correct what I said. I said it was Westpac. It wasn't Westpac. It's ING.
Okay.
And it has the number. It's a 4. It's a 6, a 9, a keypad 9 things, and each time you go there, the digits are in a different location.
So there is some security on it. I'm actually just going to pick up. I'm diverting from my slides a little bit, but a lot of people have got alarm panels in their homes or businesses or clubs or wherever. Have you ever noticed if you've got 4 numbers, how easy it is to see what 4 numbers are pressed? They're generally the ones that are dirtier or worn out. Now, it takes a hacker very, very little time, or a smart criminal, very little time to be able to work out what those 4 numbers are. I'm not suggesting alarms are not valid, but maybe we should be changing passwords, and maybe we should be keeping our keypads clean so you can't necessarily see what's been pushed. So who's got multi-factor authentication set up? Do you all know what it is? It really involves a second source of truth. It's really taking something like a PIN number, or something that you are, like your fingerprint, on something that you have, essentially your mobile phone or another authentication device, to verify you before you sign on to, say, a banking app or a higher risk application. I would encourage you, if at all possible, to have multi-factor authentication set up on your personal accounts, and certainly on your club accounts if you can, in any way, shape or form. yes, it can be a pain in the ass that you've got to go and get your phone and key in a number, but it can also save you quite a bit of embarrassment if all of a sudden your bank accounts get hacked. Phishing. We all heard of phishing, and I'm not talking about the sort that you go and sit in a cold place and don't come in with any of the swimming creatures. Phishing, it's a scam strategy. It involves impersonating an institution. So some of those early examples are phishing schemes where you get an email that purports to be from the Bank of Melbourne, ING, David Jones, any organisation that appears credible, to try and obtain your financial or your personal information. And it goes back to someone that isn't the organisation that you're trying to talk of. Just have a real good think about a bit of a risk analysis. Why would someone like a David Jones be asking for a tax file number? Why would someone be asking for an address? They should already know that detail. Be really critical about the questions you're being asked, because what they're trying to do is, in essence, phish, probably to result in identity theft. And identity theft is a difficult thing to actually resolve. It's not as easy as walking to the police station and say, I didn't do this. So the more caution you can exercise up front, the safer you're going to be. A real life example. The Flowmobile, my favourite car, the Flowmobile car pop. They have a monthly magazine. It's the toast of the town. It's a very popular magazine. It's been looked after for them by a local supplier for many, many years. And the supplier also advertises in their club magazine. An email arrives to the club treasurer saying, we've changed our bank account details. The treasurer changes the bank account details. It's got a letter from the right place. It looks like the right logos and all of those sorts of things on it. But it turns out that the letter came, or the email came, from someone who was not that printer, realised the connections, and in essence, the club has paid a scammer or an imposter for their club magazine print costs for months before the printer actually realised, well, hang on, I haven't been paid for 3 months from the Flowmobile Car Club. What's going on? So it's a real life example of something that's happened. This actually happened interstate, but a simple thing that looked very authentic turned out to be quite an elaborate scam. At work, if anyone sends a bank account letter change, I have a process that our accounts person will ring the company on the number that they have already on system for that company and verify that there is a change of bank account. So it's not just accepting an email. It's not just accepting a letter. Chances are it's fine, but chances also are that it's something untoward, and a simple phone call can sometimes save you a lot of money. Make sense? Who uses free Wi-Fi? I think we've all done it at some stage, particularly if you're traveling. I guess what I'm saying is free Wi-Fi is free for a reason. I would suggest that if you're going to be using a Wi-Fi for any sort of financial or sensitive type transactions, either use your mobile data no matter where in the world you are, or hop on, make sure you put that off till you're on a secure Wi-Fi. Free Wi-Fi is exactly that, and it's exactly that for a reason. Okay, we're all car nuts, aren't we? Yes. So we all love a bargain, don't we? Yes. Facebook Marketplace, Gumtree, sites such as that, and even your own club sites to a degree, I think need to be approached with a degree of caution. Now let's look at an example. And this, I believe, was a real world example. Someone places an ad on Facebook Marketplace or Gumtree, wrecking a particular model, and it might be a model that's a little bit hard to get. And, you know, the seller, if you contact them, and generally you don't talk to them, you contact them through Facebook Messenger or something to that effect, insist that, oh, Fred or Bill or Jack or Jill has already asked for those parts, but if you pay me the money now, I'll put them aside for you and you can come and collect them. Warning sign 1. If someone's not willing to deal with you face to face or have a phone call, that rings alarm bells to me. I would always say go and talk to the human and go and collect it if possible. Have a look at the ad itself. I'm into older British cars, so sometimes people put something on an Australian Jaguar site and you can quite clearly see that the cars are a left-hand drive or something to that effect. Now, whilst that might not always be an alarm bell, it's just worth considering. Just be critical of what the information you're being presented. Watch out for someone that pops up on one of your web groups or forums, all of a sudden selling or wrecking a car. My advice is, if you can't deal with a real person, just really exercise caution. I'm very wary of people who insist on payment before collection. If you're willing to drive to wherever to collect your bits and you're happy to pay for it at that point, and if someone doesn't want to do that, that sort of rings some alarm bells for me. And again, it's the value of clubs. I really often suggest the safest way to buy and sell things is through your clubs, through real people. Okay.
Keith, does PayPal help? Oh, and I wouldn't do that, but does PayPal help you at all with protection if you pay for something and the stuff never turns up?
PayPal does have guarantees built into it. I don't use it. I tend to like to deal with a person, but I've heard that PayPal does have some buyer protection protocols installed in it. William?
I just wanted to add to that. PayPal has 2 options for payment to business or payment, a business or a private seller, or payment as friends or family. And quite often scammers will ask you to pay using friends or family transfer rather than selling of an item. And the difference is that when you pay through friends or family, you've got no protection at all. But if you pay as a buyer paying a seller, then you have a guarantee. So if the stuff doesn't turn up, PayPal will reimburse you for the lost funds. But it can take weeks for that to happen, you know.
It is not an instant guarantee.
You don't want to be doing
I still think the common senses around these protocols probably hold true. And I guess I'm a little bit wary of things like Pay ID and things like that as well. Spam. Well, it's probably more annoying than dangerous. I mean, people must know me very well if they're sending me Viagra, attractive partners, hearing age, and magical health remedies, because that's me down to a T. And obviously, I want a Russian bride as well. These things tend to be annoying. They can be dangerous because often there's embedded links that they want you to click on. But again, if you're using any decent filtering software, it'll try and filter most of that out. And a lot of things will go to your junk. If you get things into your junk and it's clearly a scam, you can report as well. So it tries to eliminate that. But as I said, obviously they know me very, very well. Now, have we all heard of these companies? I'd be disappointed if people hadn't, because all of these people have had data hacks at some point. They're all a little bit different. So why do people want to hack big organisations? They actually want people's personal information, generally for the idea of identity theft, or they want to get this company's mailing list, or they want to conduct fraud, or they want to try and expose vulnerabilities. For example, if someone gets someone's health information and finds that they've got something sensitive in their health information, they may try and blackmail. So, I made a comment earlier, data is king. This is data hacks and security hacks and data security is all about obtaining personal information and doing something untoward with that, or being the catalyst of something untoward. 12.9 million individuals have had their health information exposed. That's probably most of us in this room. But this is from the office of the Australian Government Office. So there's a whole lot of data security protocols in place that if companies have been subject to a data hack, that they need to report it, they need to remedy it. The law is starting to catch up, and I repeat, starting to catch up with cybercrime. Cybercrime, has been around for years, but we're now only starting to get people catching up with it. As I repeated earlier, these people are not silly. They are very, very smart operators, and they can make things look really, really good. It's quite scary. Thank you. Questions? And I've got some useful references there. If you think something's a scam, have a look at ScamWatch. We've got a national anti-scam centre, and we've got a cybersecurity hotline as well in Australia. So if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is. Be critical and stay safe. Any questions? Sorry, Nick. You got to let me know. I'll wait for a moment.
Do you want to run around?
Yeah.
One question we talk about Australian cyber security. What impact do you think data sovereignty has? So with so much data being stored in the cloud, chances are it might be in a Singapore data warehouse or an American data warehouse. When we do have these issues around leak of data, how do we deal with data that's being protected by alternate jurisdictions?
Nick, it's a really complex issue, and it's a really complex issue that jurisdictions across many, many borders are trying to deal with. For goodness sakes, we can't even get things straight across state boundaries, let alone international boundaries. I would like to see the day where there is an international protocol on data security and data protection. Will I see that in my lifetime? I'm not really sure. It is a very, very complex issue. And as I said, now the law is starting to catch up with some of the cybercrime.
And I think mine's more of a comment. Mine's more
Just for the people at home.
I'm David Funkel from the Ryan Up Club, but I found ScamWatch to be quite helpful. We had a situation at home where we've been dealing with MyGov. My partner's been dealing with MyGov, and within less than an hour of dealing with MyGov, he got a message from MyGov asking him to verify the details. And the only thing that stopped him completing filling in the data, he gave them his Medicare number, he gave them his tax file number, but he didn't press the send button because it asked for his license details, and he started to enter his license details in, and then it said, "Oh, we want the number on the back of your license." But he's got an old license that didn't have the number on the back, so I wouldn't accept the data. But the risk to me was, this is the second time this has happened. He'd been having communications with MyGov correctly, but somehow they were able to get into within less than an hour. There was a scam communications.
I'd be having a look at spyware on your PC, to be perfectly honest.
Well, we've just upgraded
Good move.
that, but this is actually after we've
Well,
upgraded.
again, the logic I put to you earlier, MyGov already has your Medicare details.
Yes, exactly.
It already has your tax file number.
Exactly.
Your driver's license is used as part of your ID process to get a MyGov account.
Yep.
And it's a state and territory jurisdiction. So why would MyGov, which is a Commonwealth,
But the thing is that
you've got to, I guess my point is you've got to be critical and sort of say, why are they asking this
Well, that's
information?
what I've been trying to train my partner into looking at the address on the email, looking at things that, and I'm getting there, but it just has to get you at a weak moment, and they've got you. It doesn't take much. You do the right thing all the time, but all you have to be is, brought out in that sort of 30 seconds, and virtually anyone can be caught.
I would be encouraging, particularly the younger generation who are very instant, very on the phone, very good at this, to use, a lot more critical thought in what they're doing.
Yeah.
Fortunately, much of the younger generation, I'm talking my kids who are 25 odd, they're also a lot more tech savvy and do have things like MFA and fingerprint and all those sorts of things set up on their devices. So has anyone here got a phone without a PIN number or without some sort of security on it? I'd be encouraging you not to.
Keith, I'm going to take a liberty while I'm about to hand the microphone across. How do you explain when you've gone into a search engine, you might have gone into, say, a website to look up a holiday or something, and all of a sudden you're inundated with all of the same sort of content. So obviously through algorithms, that's not spyware, but what is it in the computer that gives you all this content based on something you've looked at?
Big brother. No, it is algorithms that are matching your searches with things with advertisers that they think that you want to deal with. It's an
It'd
algorithm.
be a similar technology, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Gee, I'd like to take that the next step. We're finding that we can have conversations in our house and then advertising starts coming up.
Big brother is listening. Yeah, we've found the same.
It's a smart TV.
Or Google devices or Alexa or all of those, they all listen in, look at the keywords.
So,
If you do your searches on Google search, they will be remembered, because Google are making their money out of selling advertisements. So if they can link you to somebody and you do more clicks on it, they end up with more money. And more
This
benefit.
is conversation. This is not.
well, yeah, they do listen. These are smart devices. Smart devices do not make up for dumb humans.
Well,
I mean that seriously.
But then that brings it to another level as far as being scammed.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are in a world where technology is embedded in everything that we do. And we'll talk about that, I've tried to relate some of this to some specific car clubs or motoring examples. But if you can encourage your members just to be wary with what they're doing, because potentially it could infiltrate your car club's website or your car club's email system. Just, if it sounds too good to be true, if it doesn't look right, just pause and ask a question. The worst you're going to be saying is, no, she'll be right, mate, or it's okay. Sorry,
Sorry, just touching on how some websites can then pop up with ads from your previous search engines. Just a tip, if you are booking holidays, especially flights or accommodation, if you do it in a private browser mode, airlines have actually been known to increase the price if you are consistently researching dates for particular flights and everything like that. Which is what you're being advertised on the accommodation sites and everything. So if you look up flights and accommodation in private browser mode, you're more likely to have the cheaper price, and the price won't keep going up because Google isn't monitoring your searches.
It's not Google, it's the airlines can do that. If you do a search and get the price one day, the missus has gone to bed, you talk about it the next day, you agree to go get the ticket, you go back, the price has gone up. And that is just the airlines doing it. But as you say, private browser mode or incognito mode, whatever it's called on the browser you've got, that stops that information from being used the next day to identify you so that you actually get a higher price the next day.
So the obvious question, how do you get into private browser?
It's usually on a Mac, it's in the top left corner under File, and you can open a private browser, and then in PC, if you're in Internet, it's usually under the
6 from memory. There you go, incognito, yeah.
Incognito.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put this one up.
Can I give you a tip that I do? If I'm doing homework, I'll often, like on a holiday, I'll often do it on an iPad or a tablet or something to that effect. And then I'll book what I need to on my work PC or something to that effect. So it's coming through from different IP type addresses.
But incognito also,
Sorry, can we have the mic over? the back?
incognito can also.
Sorry, Philip. That's the fastest Ken's run all week. Oh.
Incognito can also trace you as well, because I've seen airfares go up after you've been doing it for a
Right.
little bit longer than what you should be doing it.
Yeah,
So if
okay.
you keep going back to the same site to look at
Yeah.
stuff, you've got to be careful. So what we do is we always change up what we do in our search engines, because I don't want to see my husband's phishing thing come into my little searches. So we just change it up. So Google's analytics cannot work out who is sitting on that computer doing searches.
Yeah.
So we have random searches all over the place of all sorts of different things, and it gets really, really confused. So I'll try and flick you up something and you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. So yeah, that's what we do. We mess it up.
I normally do things like every now and again I'll search, alpacas or billy goats
Yeah.
or something stupid and then go back to what I want to. But I find just browsing on things that on an iPad or a tablet and then booking something on a real device, as I call it, sometimes keeps the authenticity better.
What's computer, I reckon?
Yeah, use someone else's computer and credit card. That makes your holiday even cheaper. Philip.
Question about how we store membership records, how and where and passwording.
Mark, do you want to talk to that? Or are you talking about clubs in general?
In clubs in general,
Well, if clubs are using platforms like an Our Club or a Member Jungle or actual membership programs like that, most of it is stored, well, it is all stored in cloud under various security layers. One of the things that I'm in, I guess, the broad-based health industry. So we deal with health information, including things like Medicare numbers and so forth. So we've got to be, SOC 6 or something like that compliant. And all of our information needs to be held in an Australian data centre with certain, and it's a level 1 data centre with certain levels of security. With things like online databases and things like that, they're often hosted in the cloud. I'm not saying they're not secure, but you don't necessarily know where that data is being stored unless you ask the question of that IT software provider.
what I was thinking about primarily was the Excel data sheet.
Yeah.
For some of these people.
If it's on their computer, well, in some ways, it's probably the safest place to be. Look, cloud storage and storage offsite and backups, they're priceless. It's brilliant in some ways. But like life in general, everything that has an advantage also has a downside. You've just got to make sure that you're dealing with knowns and evaluating the risk for everything that you do for your data. Data is the most prized asset in some ways in this type of society.
Okay, John from the Retreat Club. Something that we've come across, and I was wondering if any other clubs have experienced, is getting contacted by some sort of legal entity claiming a copyright infringement from something we've published in the club newsletter and demanding a payment.
Not familiar with it, but yeah, not familiar with that one.
We were sort of treating it along the same lines as the request you get for a parking fine at a commercial car door.
Just ignore it.
Just a general question on security and how does AOMC protect their database? Do you have another?
No, we've got ours all on eBay. You can buy it if you like. No. Mark, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I can comment on that. You won't be able to go onto our website and find that data. We don't have it there. We have it, it exists on this laptop, it exists on my laptop. We actually have it shared through a Dropbox account. So you do have to do things like protect that information. So make sure your logins there are secure, preferably using the authentication, multi-factor authentication, so that other people can't get into the same spot. But they are generally pretty secure. Other things, what was I going to say? Yeah, but we're not emailing that sort of information around willy-nilly. It's accessible only to the AOMC. It's only shared with the people that need that information.
And we don't hold bank account numbers, for example.
Do you have who do you have as your support to, assist you in protecting data? Because with our club, I'm not comfortable with, but do you have a body or person that provides support, recommendations?
I guess, I mean, the AOMC is working with Damien, who gave the presentation earlier. He's looking after a range of things, but certainly between Damien and myself and the people, we know where the data is. And not everybody on committee's got access to it. If they ask for it, we can give them what they need, but that data is generally secure. We're also using a Google Workspace account, where we have a Google Drive where we can put all of the AOMC information. So that's secure. But again, like everything, no matter where it is, as long as you're protecting the entry into that location, you should be right. If you're not protecting the entry, then, and going back to Keith's example, you're operating a phone that doesn't have a keypad. I would never share this information with my father because a pin is too bloody hard to get. He's too blind anyway to see it. So to have that on a phone that's not protected and can be left around is too much of a risk. But if people are using the devices securely, they understand what it's about, then they can participate in that system of having a secure login, because most stuff is online. You can't stop that from happening.
Yeah, the challenge I see is that, let's say one of the admin people just clicked accidentally into a site and that's it. It's just gone and put something into your system. Then you're in trouble.
So
Potentially, you may have access to whatever's on your computer.
again, nothing is guaranteed in life, number one. As I said, these people who are hackers and develop spyware and malware and all of those sorts of things, if they're getting into US government, Australian government, whoever government sites, they're not silly people. So treat them with respect and do the maximum that you can to make sure your data is protected with things like MFA, things like having secure posting and secure repositories for your data, and be wary around your virus protection and your malware protection and things like that. This presentation wasn't designed to tell you the answers to the world's problems in half an hour. It was basically designed to give you things to look at so you can be a bit more wary in your life on the web.
One more question, Kate?
Final question?
Tom from the Beauty Car Club. The last time I went to the Avalon Air Show, I was at the recruitment spot. And as I was talking to the recruitment officer there, I noticed in the corner of my eye a sheet with a whole lot of small RAF insignias on it, where you just peel off. It's the size of a pea. And I asked her, because it's so small, that's useless. And she went on telling me it's a requirement for that sticker to be over the phone aperture of all mobile phones in the RAF. Now, I don't know whether it's across all the Navy and Army and stuff, but she said that's a mandatory requirement to have, so it can't be turned on and recorded.
A lot of companies and organisations are managing phones, particularly with things like the example I'm going to use is things like Samsung Knox, which can manage a fleet of phones and that say, you are not allowed to have a camera on between, it sets a group policy on phones. You can't have a camera on. Apple has the same. There's programs that can manage Apple or iOS phones in the same way. And I'm surprised in some ways that people can take phones onto particularly sensitive areas. Having worked in some sensitive areas, we've had to check our phones at the door, so to speak.
It intrigued me that it was something so primitive
Yeah.
as a sticker.
Well, I would suggest it could be peeled off fairly easily.
And quick one regarding being scammed. My brother-in-law has been scammed 7,500, and a friend of mine's father was scammed just quite recently for 5,000. So even with all the warnings, people continue.
As I said, some of these scammers are very good. Don't underestimate your opposition.
Yeah.
They say that in sport, but I think it's true in many things. Any further questions? I hope that's given you some insight and some things to be wary of.